right now is College Republican National Committee Chair Alex Smith, along with Red Alert Politics Editor Ron Meyer. Good to see you both. Thank you so much for joining us.
Morning.
What's your take on the nomination process? Let me start there, Ron. In terms of the process, in terms of these delegates, do you agree with Donald Trump?
Well, this process has been in place not just for 1 year. This type of a process has been in place for more than 100 years. And the Colorado process in particular was put in place in 1912. The issue is for Donald Trump is that when voters look at the general election in November, some people don't realize there's an electoral college. Similarly, I don't think Trump's campaign really realized that these delegates really do matter. Ted Cruz's campaign, whether or not you agree with his campaign or support his campaign, started actively recruiting delegates to run for the convention 6, 10, 12 months ago. And so the opportunities were there, and I think Trump just didn't realize this could be part of the campaign. I think his strategy is smart, though, to bash the system. It puts pressure on the RNC and puts pressure on these delegates to reconsider the process, maybe consider changing rules to make it different than it's been in the past. So I think his game strategy is probably where he has to be, because he's not going to reach the 1237. He probably will come a little bit short.
Alex, how do you see it?
Well, you know, I think that the process has been in place for a long time, and you have to remember that the Republican Party, unlike the Democratic Party, is a grassroots party. So these are processes that were established at the state level, not the national level. I think that that's an important distinction to remember in all of this. So, you know, I agree with the chairman that it is up to the campaigns to learn the rules, but I do think that all of the campaigns have an equal opportunity to use those rules to their advantage. And I think that's something that the Cruz campaign and their organization on the ground has done very well.
Yeah, I mean, this has been the case for a long time, Mike Murphy.
It really has, but I mean, this is typical Donald Trump, or at least in this campaign, to use something that was really a negative for him and turn it around to bash the system and talk about how the system is holding people down, how the rules need to change, and he's taking what was really a negative and turning it into a positive for him. I think his supporters are really getting behind him, and you hear a lot of people talking on social media about how this is the system needs to change, and I think that plays right into Donald Trump's hands here.
Yeah.
Well, here's where I'll step in. Okay, so saying I don't have a horse in this race, and I just want to look at this objectively.
Yeah.
Maria, Donald Trump's exact words: "I know the rules very well, but I know it's stacked against me by the establishment." That was his big comeback. He was saying, "I know the rules," because he was criticized for saying, for not knowing the rules, not having the right strategy in place to know what could happen to him in Colorado. And here he is saying his vote didn't count, the votes for him didn't count, and the race was stacked against me. But then Reince Priebus comes out and says the nomination process was known for a year and beyond. It's the responsibility of the campaigns to understand it.
Right.
So if Donald Trump and his campaign knew the rules, understood the rules, why did the complaints come in after the loss?
Yeah.
And that is one of the biggest criticisms this morning, looking back at all.
Fair point.
Yeah.
You guys agree with that?
Well, absolutely. I mean, the issue is that these delegates are elected by people. They're elected by people who are in your local Republican units. Just here locally, there's a 10th District Republican Convention coming up in Virginia. People who are Republicans show up and vote to elect their delegates. And so Trump's accusation that this is all the establishment, I think, is a little bit unfounded. It insults local Republicans who have been working in their local elections for years and years to say that they're the establishment. Trump needs to figure out in this process, and I think he's hired some good staff to do so, how we can start winning more delegates. There's a lot of conventions coming up where these delegates will be decided. And instead of bashing all of the people who will be elected as the establishment, he needs to put a strategy together where he could try to win those so he can try to get to 1237. Right. He's not that far off on the first ballot.
Yeah,
so he needs to start going after these people.
And people are talking about his organization as well, to speak to your point. All right, got